Hi, my name is Felix Fry.
And I'm Marco Rajnica.
We're here to find great trading opportunities that target 150 to 400% returns. And you? Well, you're going to help us do it every single day. So welcome. This is the Winning Picks Podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only. OptionsGeek LLC is not a broker-dealer. OptionsGeek LLC, Felix Fry, and Marco Rajnica are not registered investment advisors. Keep in mind, options involve substantial risk and are not suitable for everyone. Please consult your own investment advisor before doing any trading. Make sure you read the full disclaimer at the end of this episode.
Hey, Felix, you there?
Mr. Marco, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. We had some technical difficulties. I want to apologize to everybody that came on and everything was like fuzzy and stuff. So
that's all right, man.
Yeah, I just need to fix a thing, and then
you're the man. You're the man behind the man. That's all right. That's
yeah,
okay.
man. I'm the guy responding to your
guy
messages.
behind the guy behind the guy. Go ahead.
Right.
That's
right,
all right.
Exactly. So let me
go for it.
Just find one thing, and then I'm good. Okay.
All right.
If you want to just quickly take it over and.
Yeah. So well, I'm looked at a couple of things here today, and I can tell you that there's a decent amount to talk about. Why don't we start with you know what? Let's start with eBay, because I'll talk a little bit about eBay. eBay is a name that we have been long, and you know, I think that I get a lot of questions when something like this happens. I get a lot of questions on what do I do? What do I do now? What do I do here? And I always say, you know, a lot of times I can't answer everybody's questions, but I always say, you know, I'm going to say, I don't really know exactly where eBay is going in the next hour, 2 hours, or 5 hours. I read the report, like everybody read the report. Everybody's going to make a decision on the stock, but we have a plan. And at OptionsGeek, I can't stress enough that plan is so important. Okay, so something like eBay, some people, depending on where you got in on the trade, on your average, could have had an exit. Right? Could have had an exit. I think you had a one lot, and we talked about you had an exited a while ago. And so you could have had an exit already. Today would have been your second exit, maybe even your third exit, depending again where you got in. But the point is that right at the open, you know, there's no need to think, right? There's no need to try to outsmart the market. You can try. I can tell you that it's 50-50, whether it's going to be right or wrong, but there's no need to do it. What I'm trying to do is help you to not think. Right. I don't know. I'm sure that, you know, you're guessing, and most people are guessing. Right. We don't have all the information needed. But that said, you would take some on the morning. And if you had 2/3 left, you would take the 1/3. And if the other third went down, I like the stock. I think everything the CEO said is great. That's why the stock was up. Everything, our thesis was on them building trust. And if they can build trust, that people would come back in. You know, how do you build trust except just saying, okay, if you sell a pocketbook, a Chanel bag online, and it's not real, then the buyer, we will make sure that that's taken care of. That builds a lot of trust. All of a sudden, people are going to start selling more items on eBay. Same thing. They're into baseball cards, collectibles. They're into sneakers. All of these things have been doing well for them. And that's their plan, to get people to experience the buying and selling, and then I don't want to say hooked, but you understand. They once someone's done the process and they trust the system, they're more inclined to do that same process over and over again. And so process matters. It's what we do at OptionsGeek. Process does matter. And eBay has done a tremendous job over the last couple of quarters to start taking it from nobody's on eBay to people to start thinking about eBay. And remember, they're attacking that sneaker business, which there are companies valued at billions of dollars just because they're trading sneakers. eBay sells more sneakers than anyone, and now they're starting to do it in a way where they're building verticals. So eBay sneaker areas where a lot of the millennials who are into the sneaker trade business, they're there. But what they're finding is that people are, once they go there, they're like, what else is going on at eBay? And they're, you know, the AI, eBay is a big user of AI. I wouldn't be surprised if they've hired Palantir, or they just do it themselves. I mean, eBay was the Palantir, right? It was the guy. So So all of this combined is something that potentially is really powerful happening at eBay. So do I know where the stock's going today? I have no idea. But the stock just blew out earnings. They guided conservatively, it looks like, for the next quarter. If this becomes a growth company, it's already a cheap stock. Part of the thesis was we're finding something that's cheap and can have legs to run. So if you got out of one a while back at 100%, and you get out of the second at 200%, 175, wherever you got out today, and you have a third, you can let that one run. You can, close your eyes and say, this is I'm in a good stock, in a good position, with the CEO talking positive. And, there was a lot of call buying yesterday for the earnings. And today, what happens? They have to get out of those calls. So there is some pressure. So that's eBay. That's what I would say there. And now we can go back to the UOA. Cool. Go ahead.
All right. Sounds good. So one thing I've seen on the UOA today is, let me actually share my screen real quick and show you.
I've seen a few things, but go ahead. You pick one.
Okay. So here it is. All right. Okay. And let me turn off yours. All right. So here it is.
Okay.
IV up, volume filtered.
Good.
And it's actually FSR. FSR.
Okay.
And I clicked on
Never
it.
heard of it.
Took a look. Yeah. It's an interesting company. So what they do is it's electric cars.
Oh, no kidding.
Cars, and it's kind of weird. So let me just grab my notes
electric cars
and run you through.
All right.
Yeah. So the action I was looking
at. Let me
is
guess. They're doing electric cars. They're gonna sell this brand new electric car. Go ahead. What's the story?
Yeah. It's it.
Right, tell me what you see first. Tell me what you see first. Tell me what you see first.
I'm saying
I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, $16 calls here.
Yeah, I see it.
Amount of volume. And when I click on it, take a look at the modal. First thing I look at from the morning to now, and I look at IV. So I'm seeing 80, 100, 98, 96 as volume has been picking up. IV has been picking up, so that's an indication that it's actually a buy, right? So, and they've been
go up
buying
to the chart. Go up to the black chart. Just see. Okay. So visually, you could see that, right? You're looking at someone buying, volume picking up, call volume picking up, and then the stock shoots up. Okay, and you see the implied volatility shoot up. The stock moves up, and I'm looking at what you're looking at. Yeah, I can see. It looks like a buy to me. So cool. I agree.
Yeah. And then
what else you got?
The next, so I took a look.
Can you just go to? Can you 1 second? Can you just go to the March? I'm sorry, February, because that's just next week. So I'm a little concerned about that. But go to February. What do you see there?
So here, not a lot.
Yeah, the 15, 16s. Okay. Also buying. It looks like. It looks like buying. I see it right there. Okay, so go ahead. So stick to the Fed.
Take a look at where the target stock price. So that was the next thing I was looking at. And here you see 17. So I put 19 too high. So 18.5, I would say, is kind of the range.
That's fair. Okay, I agree. Everything so far.
And I mean, then I'm thinking about that's next week, right? So next Friday, I guess.
It's a lot for 1 week. Yes,
it is, and it's not what we play usually. But there's some other things I want to show you that sparked my interest as well. So I was looking at the chart as well, and so this is the chart, and this level here. Let me
fancy. What charts is this? Who's
it's Koifin.
Koifin. Okay.
Yeah,
Koifin.
Like
there's
Koifin.
A plug for Koifin.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So there's this.
We don't know. I know the guy. I've seen the guy. I know he's a Wall Street guy. He's actually seems like a good guy. So maybe I'll call him.
Much cool
stuff. We're plugging Koifin, okay? And I don't even know. We don't know the guy, but go ahead. I like it.
Yeah. So you see this level? It's around what 1450-ish.
Can you blow out the chart? So what is this? 3 months? How long is this?
No, this is all time essentially.
Okay.
All. So they just IPO'd, I guess, in October.
Is this weekly or is this?
This is
I'm
daily.
sorry.
Daily.
Okay.
Weekly looks a little bit off, so you don't want to look at that one.
Yeah, daily's good. Okay.
So, I mean, if they're looking at 19, that's around here. I mean, it was at its high, like 24 or something. So I don't see why it couldn't get to 19. But I guess it's gonna need a catalyst, some news, something coming out,
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Let me just see something. Hang on. Give me a second. I just want to looking at my own stuff here. So I have it. You have only what months do you have? Let me see this again. I want to see your chart. See a Koifin's too. What month? Where does it start? October?
Yeah, from Koifin. So let me see yours actually.
Right. Yeah, mine's starts from July of last year. That's what I'm saying. So
Koifin plug.
What happened? Question. Now
Yeah.
maybe there's a way to. I don't know. But maybe maybe we're not looking at it right. Who knows? But I would say let's go 6 months. Can you see mine?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, so here's a 6 months chart in Fisker. Fisker. Okay, the EV, the new EV company, Fisker. Okay. Let's see what's it. So if I asked you draw one line here, one
Mhm.
line anywhere on this chart, what line would you choose? Where would you choose? One line to sort of tell me this is important or this is something that. How would you think about it?
Yeah, I'll still choose that 14.5, I think.
14 and a half. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's just do that. Let's just look at it. Okay, so 14 and a half. I would say you're right. I mean, the I should go to around 14 and a half. Let's go maybe even 15 and a half, somewhere around
Mhm.
here, right?
Mhm.
Something like this.
Yes, in
Somewhere in
between.
this little box, for whatever reason, right? We don't know but we're looking at, okay, not so much here, but it breaks through here. But all of a sudden, it was like here, 14 and a half became somewhat important. Here, it's important. It actually declines, does this V shape here, and then gaps up through this, finds little support here, trades all the way down, 15 and a half, 16, gaps through. You see how it's just hanging around here, but here all of a sudden it's holding in a really weird way for this stock to just be holding 14 and a half. I think it's 100 vol. What'd you say? You had how much is the implied volatility? It's like 100 vol,
Yeah.
100 implied volatility name. It's odd that it just holds 14 and a half, which shows me that there's buyers there, right? You'd say there's a buyer here. They're not letting it go down, so there's buyers. That doesn't mean it's going to hold. I'm just saying visually you could see that there is buyers here for whatever reason, and there's you can also say that looks like there's sellers there. So this thing is trading in sort of a tight range. The way it trades, it shot up for whatever reason. I don't know what happened here, and then came back down to this range, right? To this
Yep.
sort of level. So this is how I'm looking at it. But okay, so keep going. So we have this 14 and a half range, and we're looking, what did you say, 18? 18 and a half?
19, yeah.
It's tough. I would say it would be tough in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
next week, next Friday. I
Yes.
mean, it's tough. Okay, so I would say it's tough. That's all we could say. Who am I to say that it's going to happen or not? I just say that it looks like it's tough. So what else are we seeing? So what is this?
Yeah.
Let's dig
Okay,
into the company a little bit now.
Yes, I'll show you the website now, actually. It's pretty neat. It's very, very California vibes. So one thing that came to
California
that I saw was interesting is this part here. Vegan interior, solar sunroof.
Oh, whoa, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Probably with Fubo access inside and
Right.
made in China, right? I mean, how many names at once can you put on one vegan interior? What does even that mean? Vegan interior.
They say fibers are derived from worn out t-shirts.
Oh, so like leather would not be vegan. What does it say?
Yes.
Worn out. It's not. That's not worn out t-shirts.
Yeah. Is that
what?
It's as hippie as it gets.
Fibers derived from worn out t-shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Sunroof is solar. That's a clever one. Yeah. And what else? What else I found was actually pretty interesting here. They have a good model for leasing. They give you 30,000 miles. You can, return it whenever you want. I mean, that's going to be a first, I guess. So.
Wow. Okay.
Thanks, Pam. Yeah. So that's that. I found an article on Seeking Alpha as well. And out of this whole article, it's a really cool article. What they're saying essentially is that it's undervalued, but there's this figure of, let me see, 9 billion. Okay. So the revenue
estimates 9 billion. Okay.
Yes, by 2020. But here's the fun part. They're trading at the 0.5 multiple.
Can't wait for this. Okay.
Right. They're 0.5 multiple.
Okay.
Compare them to their competitors.
To Tesla. Okay.
8 times.
Okay.
Neo 5 times. XPeng 4 times.
Okay.
Saying that it's
so. I think so. So here's what, just because we talk about this a lot. The lead horse. The lead horse is who? The lead horse is Tesla. We've talked about that's the one.
Yes.
Also, the other lead horses are Chinese Tesla, which and then the XPV and the LIs of the world. So you have this pyramid of momentum, if you will, right? A period of momentum where you are you are chasing the top dog. The top dog is trading at 8 times revenue. Everything else should trade at least 8 times revenue is the thinking. It doesn't always work that way, but that's how the valuations go higher. So, if something should happen to Tesla's valuation, then you could see the whole mountain sort of crumble. You're taking the foundation of this mountain is Tesla's valuation. Mm-hmm. So, it's a dangerous game, this momentum, but you could see how dangerous it can be if the lead horse is, gets sick and, everything else is going to crumble for the time being. Right. So there is something, at least to learn from that sort of logic. So we have a stock what's the market cap on this?
$4 billion.
$4 billion. Okay. Yes. So $4 billion market cap, and they're expected to do revenues in 2025, which is 4 years from now. So they have this a vegan car, I guess, that they're making out of t-shirts, interior. I mean, I can't understand that. So, I mean, is there anything else? Is there anything else on this?
There's not one super more golden nugget. I was waiting for the end to give it to you, but here it is.
Okay, lure me in. Okay, this better be good.
Apollo is in this. Apollo Global Management. And from what I heard, you probably know, looked it up on their Wikipedia, actually. It's pretty out of all places. I mean, I've heard of them as being like a big guys, strong guys.
Yeah, they're huge. So what does it say? Tell me what it says. I can't read the screen.
They are backed by private equity firm Apollo Capital Management from July 13th, 2020. July 13th. Yeah.
Okay. The deal values Fisker at $2.9 billion. Mm-hmm. This is a different story now. Now I don't care about t-shirts. I care about Apollo Management. So Apollo, like I told you, they're the best of the best, right? They are the Goldman Sachs of private equity. And when you look at something like Apollo, when I hear Apollo, I immediately think, I grew up in the age where GE Management, I actually out of Wharton, I had gotten a job offer at GE Management, and I was going to take that job offer. And the reason at the time, GE Management, now it's an $11 stock, trying to stave off bankruptcy. But, at the time, GE Management was considered a world-class management system. It still is, I'm sure. They were able to take someone, stick them into all these different, divisions, and then grow them in and groom them into a CFO, CEO. So for probably 2 decades, many companies were pulling from the GE Management program to run a company. Okay. It's where you learn about companies from the ground up, and you learn process. So when I think of Apollo, I think of process. I think of a team that has all the expertise in taking a company from A to companies to take the company to Z. Okay. From small amounts of revenue to large amounts of revenue. So when I see that, I mean, it's a little bit more exciting, because if Apollo thinks t-shirts are going to sell in a car, then I want to know and they're willing to give a valuation of $2.9 billion. Maybe there's more to the story. I want to know a little bit more. So it's interesting. It's actually really interesting. So now you're telling me $4 billion at 0.5 times revenue. So at 2025, that's 0.5. Tesla is 9. NIO and XPV are, I think you said 5 and maybe 4, 8, 5 and 4. Okay, so 5 times and 4 times. Now it seems interesting, because if what's this, Fisker? Like Fisker?
Yeah,
FIS. Whisker. Okay, Fisker.
Doesn't sound too bougie.
If Fisker actually gets to, or the market says, okay, we like it, and the closer. How long till they don't have a model out yet, but it just read from what I just briefed. It said their model called the Ocean is coming out, maybe prototype, in the summer. So 0.5 billion times sales. So by the summer, if Tesla and NIO and all these guys are still trading at 8 times sales in 2025, and Fisker gets closer and closer to that prototype, and that prototype becomes a reality, and they start selling cars, or they start selling these cars with t-shirt stuffs inside of it, whatever it is they're selling, that's when that gap from 8 billion starts closing. You see something like NIO and XPEV, that gap is closing to the lead horse 8 billion, or I'm sorry, 8 billion, 8 times revenue. Okay, that gap is closing because they're China and they have a big story, and Tesla is, obviously international, has a big story. So these look, they're just They're just multiples. They're way to think about valuation. But FSR might close that gap if there's news. So if somebody believes that there is news on it appears, why is someone coming in and buying 1 week options, right? Next Friday options, paying a decent amount, looking for 18. Either they're getting out of the stock, and for whatever reason they're just concerned here, so they're trying to use that to get out of the stock, or the stock's going to have some news. Either way, I think they're expecting a large move. It's always difficult to determine that weekly option, whether it's a buyer because he thinks it's going to 18, or it's a buyer who's thinking it might get 18, but I just want to get out of my stock. It's always a fine line. It looks good. I like what you found. I like the story behind it, Apollo. I would like to see a little bit more of them. That's why I looked at the marches when you showed me the marches. The longer someone goes, the more, these things sort of take time to develop. These, not saying that it can't just explode up, but the whole, EV has been around now for months. So this one is just being found. There's got to be something that's making them excited to actually to take this higher. So I would say that I like it. I like what you found. I like we've seen the technical analysis. You see what I see, and the story. The Apollo is really the story there, right? At 2.9 billion valuation. If the stock is 4 billion, you're only talking about 20% below. So Apollo got in, and it probably Apollo got in. If it's 15 and 2.9 valuation, then Apollo got in at probably, let's call it $12. And you can see at $12, maybe that's why people are paying 14.5. It's sort of like a premium. If Apollo paid $12, then okay, that's sort of the stop, right? That's Apollo's paying $12. If it gets to $12, yeah, I want to be in there with Apollo, right? But you know what? That's the premium. The premium, that maybe that's my stop. If it starts breaking $12, then maybe it's no longer good, because how come it's not being bought, right? So people are, there's a premium to Apollo, right? Like, Apollo buys a company at 2.9 billion valuation with backing, with their money. And they're sticking their if they're putting big money, and they're sticking their executives in there to, again, process, business savvy. They take over. I think that they try to take over, but if depending on how much money they put in, they come in and outline the whole process and say, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we could position it. We're going to get this type of advertising going, this type of branding going, this type of this. We're going to build partnerships, and we're going to get you in the game. So they in that same article, I'm just skimming, they're with Magna in Europe. I'd be surprised if Apollo is not somewhere around there. Like maybe does Apollo own Magna or part of it, or were they investors? Like that's how these things, the bigger you are, the more components you can help your investment, right? It's no different than, there's a show on CNBC that I haven't watched in a while, but I used to love watching it. It was with Marcus Lemonis. Do you know this guy, Marcus Lemonis? I forgot the name of the show. Yeah, I forgot the name of the show. But in Marcus Lemonis, he's a good guy. The way he thinks and how he positions himself in these companies, it's awesome. So I think it's a great story. Why don't we go to the next one? I think it's good.
Cool. All right, nice. So next one, let's see what we have. I think it was fuels or CLOV, the one we're in, right?
CLOV, yes. Big negative news today, right? Big negative news. And let's see here. Why don't we look at what are you seeing trade there? Probably puts, just because of the news.
I mean, both puts and calls, let me tell you.
Okay.
So that's kind of what's confusing me. Bad news, but a lot of calls.
Yeah. So, stock is down, right? Stock is down because the company came out, one of these short people who have short stories, put out short stories, they came out with a negative story on the company. Basically, in the headlines, they used DOJ, under investigation, undisclosed, which, by the way, makes me think, how are they? Somebody was trading in front of this. It looks like people were shorting this prior to the stock was trading very weak over the last couple of days, and it looked like there are puts in this name. Not that there should the stock is overvalued for what it is right now. maybe undervalued for what it might be in the future. So I don't mind that there's puts there, but these shorts research firms, sometimes they're trading in front of it. So someone like the Muddy Waters and the Andrew Leffs of the world, they might buy puts in front of this research piece, and they're just putting out their own research. So they're allowed to say, hey, look, I'm short the name, I'm shorting it, and I'm buying puts. And on that move down, they can then cover those puts, so they can actually buy some stock.
Right.
What I would say about what the research says, first of all, how do they know that there's this undisclosed DOJ, and how come they don't get in trouble for undisclosed? Means that they have insider information to me, right? So if anyone who traded on that undisclosed information, why wouldn't the SEC actually go look at them and saying, how do you know there's an undisclosed DOJ investigation on Clover Health? And if you did know, if somebody whispered it to you, then did you trade on it, or are you trading on it, or did anybody in your firm? It seems like that might have got leaked out a little bit. So I always question the undisclosed especially of government DOJ stuff, but that's a whole nother insider trading type of thinking. But if they do know, or they did know this, or they're saying this, the DOJ does investigate a lot of different companies. The fact of the matter is that once you come out and saying this and making it look like there's fraud, there is it's almost like that's like the last bullet, right? It's one of the last bullets. You can't go worse than saying fraud. Once you squeeze fraud, or you scream fraud in an audience, it's like everybody panics. It's like, it's fraud. Yep. It's a zero, right? It's a zero. And what you're seeing here is high volume on the stock, and volume in the options. Okay. And people are now positioning themselves. I would have thought implied volatility would have went down, but maybe because it's a fraud, it's not that people are selling, not just because the stock is down. People are selling because all of a sudden it's fraud allegations, and the IV could go up just because this thing could either be a zero or not. Right. And so again, another one that we are long, we're long a little bit longer dated stuff. In this case, in these 100 vol names, more than 3 weeks or 4 weeks is like long term. So I don't like jumping at these things. This could be the reason. Sometimes I tell people this could be the reason why it goes up now to 40, because the market's like water. It goes to the least resistance. So maybe there was too many people long this name. Now everybody jumps, gets out of calls, sells their stock. I don't want to be involved in a fraud. And, you notice the company, I've been looking, they haven't said anything. And frankly, if I was the company, I wouldn't say anything either. I can't talk about some undisclosed DOJ. If it's undisclosed and it's nothing, it was a routine, somebody was asking questions, you don't know what that means. And so if I'm the company, I don't say a word. In fact, it might be a positive development for this stock over the next 8 weeks. So I can think about it two ways. Yes, it could be fraud. And if it is, you know what? We have some calls we're going to lose, but if it is fraud, but if it's not, and they come out and say, they asked a few questions and they closed the case, or we gave them every information they wanted and that was it, then, this stock could rally significantly and then leave the people behind. Because there's a lot of people, you can just look at the chart and see that a lot of people in this name, right? That his win rate in the SPACs is significant. And so I don't think he's lost on any. And so I'm sure him putting his name behind this, they've looked at every detail, and I would think, that's what you're buying into. You're buying into Mr. Facebook, sure that, hey, this is a real company and I'm not going to be embarrassed. And we like it for this reason. And tell me where the bodies are laying. I want to know. So these are things that, you're betting on Mr. Facebook. You're betting on Chamath, and you're, he's the guy, he's your leader. And so I would be surprised. Now, if he comes out and says, you know what, we're parent, I don't know what he can say, or the SPAC is, we're gonna reshuffle things. Okay, then he sort of sees something different, but he doesn't say anything. He's not commenting. He's saying this is a long-term story. We have an agreement with Walmart. Everything is still up and up, and we're gaining momentum, and we have a great technology, and we're going to do that to change this business. And you know what? That's your leader. You stick with it. Do you want to trust them with a $12 stock? We have calls, so we're trusting them to some extent. But this could go much lower, or it could actually go. It could actually be the catalyst to actually get people out and then go up. There are many situations. Look at GSX. Look at GSX for a second. GSX is a name that they screamed, fraud was screamed out. It's hard to catch fraud all the time. It is hard. You can raise questions. It's hard to catch fraud. But something like GSX over the course of the last, let's go back. Even when it's fraud, it's difficult to actually win, right? Here, they were talking about fraud in GSX here. Okay, right. There was same thing, a short research report here, and then it shot up to 140. Then the shorts get some courage and they start shorting here. Then what happened with last month with shorts and the GME fiasco? The thing goes to this also went straight up in the air. So short squeeze. So people, once you yell fraud, there's a lot of shorts. In GSX, there was a lot of shorts right here, and this is where they end up getting killed. Okay, so once you yell fraud in this case, it would be Clover. You're getting people out, and you're probably getting people to buy puts, and you're probably getting people leaning. Wow, this could be fraud. You want to be able to play it both ways, and as long as we're not stopped and we have life, and there's months in this left. I want to be in it, and I want to just see it through. Again, I'm not trying to trade the news. That's how you get in trouble. So trading the news is a difficult thing to do. Right. Just reacting to what you see or reacting to this. You don't know how the shorts are positioned. You don't know that whether or not they put this out and now they're buying stock. They have puts and now they're buying stock, and on a short squeeze or on a rally up, they're going to make a lot of money. We don't know that. So that's what I would say. I would say it's definitely a hit piece. I mean, you're definitely yelling. You're yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. If the best they can do is knock the stock $1.50 on that type of allegation, maybe it's a positive thing. Maybe. Yep. I don't know. Okay, so that's what my 2 cents is. What's the next one? What else you thinking?
Nice. Pull it up. Okay, the next one, actually, fuel cell. Not a lot, but I mean, we could take a look at it.
Fuel cell. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, March.
Yep.
Let me guess. 23s?
20.
Yes. So I see 2. You see there's one over here. There's a 5,000 lot over here, the 24s. You see that?
Yeah, almost
so there's
the same
a 23 calls, but someone's over here looking like they're buying some of these. So I would this one is 2,500, and then it came back for more, 2,500. Let's see. 2,500, and then 5.25 on the bid. So it looks like he was bidding 2,500, 5.25. This might still be a buy. See how? Okay, so this is interesting. It looks like 2,500, 5.25.
Okay.
Excuse me, 2,500, 5.25, and then 2,500 again. Looks like 5.25. But so you're saying, you don't know if he sold them out. He bought them, and then maybe he just said no, he sold them out. What I would say is that he bought them. See how this looks like the bid?
Yep.
This is a good example because I could show you that it looks like he took the offer on the first 2,500, right? You see that?
Yep. Okay.
And then it looks like he hit the bid on the other ones. So maybe he sold it, right? Make sense?
Makes sense. Okay.
That's what the average person might look and say, offer, bid. The reason I have these in gray is my last resort to sort of figure things out. But it also could be simply that he bought them at 5.25, 2,500 times. He really wanted to buy 5,000. And so all he did was bid. He bid 5.25. And he was bidding 5.25, bidding 5.25, bidding 5.25. He's bid, right? He's really a buyer. That's why he's bidding. And then someone sells it to him at 5.25. Maybe it's the investment bank. So if I had this order, I would say, okay, I'll sell you 2,500 at 5.25. And then you would say, okay, I buy those. So I would print 2,500 at 5.25. I sold you some. Then we'd wait. The stock is ticking higher. And then I actually say, okay, you know what, Marco, I will sell you the other 2,500 at 5.25. And I'm hitting your bid. Okay. Right. Because the stock is trading higher. I was able to get my stock. So how do I know that? I know that because you see the IV here, the yellow, You see the IV?
Mhm.
The IV went from 158 at 5.25 to 160, 159.9, 160.8 at 5.25.
Mhm.
Okay. So now piecing all of this together is he's a buyer of 5,000. He bought 2,500 and he was bidding for 25. He actually is a buyer of 5,000. Is that fair?
Yes.
Does
While
that
you're
make
that,
sense?
yes, while you're there, I just want to ask you, when we're looking at these IV numbers, is there
Yes.
how much should it change actually for us to be confident it's a buyer? Just a little bit,
It's a
by a couple
It's a good
points?
question. It's a good question. I would say in 1 month option, in 1 week options, it can change a lot because each IV percentage is small. So if meaning the dollar amount, it's called Vega. So the dollar
Uh-huh.
amount per each percentage is small. For 1.5 months, it's a little bit bigger. So the move in IV should be smaller. That's why you see the moves in the IVs of the front week, front month. They're much wider moves, much bigger moves. Wherein if you see a 20% move or a 20 click move from 60 to 80 in August options,
Oh yeah.
that's a lot
Yes.
because that's 7 months of time and the IV went up that much. The premiums have gone up that much,
Mhm.
very big. So depending on how close you are to expiration, the answer is going to be different. But here I'm simply looking, it's a math, it's a formula. So it's going into the black shows. It spits out this same price, okay, different stock. You can see the stock went up. Stock actually went up, and I'm buying puts. You would think the puts should go down. So I should actually pay less than 5.25.
Okay.
You see, so stock went up by 17 cents. Stock went up by 6 cents again. Well, I'm still paying 5.25 with the stock going up. So the IV, you're just sticking a formula out. The IV is going to say, hey, you're paying this purchase price was higher than this purchase price
Mhm.
on a relative basis. This purchase was higher than this purchase. Same premium, but I'm paying 5.25 when the stock was 23.61, and then I'm paying 5.25 on puts when the stock is higher. So
Right.
relative, this is higher than this. That's what the IV is telling you. So that's how I know that. Okay, it traded on a bid. That's because he bought 2,500. He was bidding for 5.25, and then it traded. It traded. What do you call it? It then traded at a higher IV level.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Nice. Yes. Good. Good. Thank you.
Okay,
Because
so
that's
that's
always something
what it
I'm
looks
looking
like.
at. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what it looks like. It looks like to me anyway.
Mhm. Okay.
All right. So what else are we seeing?
I wanted to ask you one thing. It's regarding Pinterest and earnings, and we're long Pinterest. How we should be looking at it, playing it, and all.
Sure. Okay.
If you could.
Big night tonight in Pinterest. I mean, I love this is one of those names that I love. Um, I think the trade couldn't have worked out any better up to right now. Meaning, and what do I mean by that? So we buy Pinterest, right? We're long the February 75s. Okay, we've been long them for decent amount of time, a month and a decent amount of time. In this environment, a decent amount of time is 2 weeks. But January 4th was the exact date. Okay, so January 4th, and the earnings we basically pay the earnings. Okay, so the stock is a lot going on in the stock, uh, everything positive, and stock's coming off a little. Looks like a little bit today after having a big move up, but we buy it here. Okay, now this happens. Okay, the
Mhm.
stock goes way up. This is an exit. There was an exit up here in Pinterest. Okay, whether you took it or not, it went. We had like what was it? Let me just give you the price I put where we would start it. So 465
Mhm.
on the 465 on the 75 calls, right? You're paying for earnings. We want to see earnings here. Okay, so 465. It goes to at the time it was probably about what do I have here? Almost $10. So 950 to around
Yep.
$10. That is almost 100% or 100%, depending on where you got in. Okay. Depending on where you got in that day. Okay. And you had the opportunity to get in. Now we're in the trade. It even goes back. You have the opportunity again to get in over here. So if you're in the trade, okay, here maybe you got out, because of the earnings and because this was so fast and implied volatilities were way up. I don't know if people stayed. They didn't. It wasn't really even at 64, the 75 calls were like $4. So it wasn't like
Mhm.
they got so cheap, right? It was something you could hang on to. If you're here and you've sold one or one out of three, 1/3, and you have earnings, and you were able to sell at 100% when it got here, and you have the earnings coming up, it's okay to sell one if you'd like. What you're playing here is you're trying to make 3 exits. You are allowed to make one, which takes a lot of your money off the table. If this goes to zero, say Pinterest is a disaster, trades 50, those calls are going to be worth very little. Okay, they'll be worth let's just call it zero. So if you took out 1/3 at 100, let's just say we put $1 in 1/3, we took out $1 on 1/3, and on 2/3 it's going to be zero. Okay, so net, we're actually going to be down on the trade. Okay, we'll have lost the dollar, but we made $1. We took off $2 here. So net would be down $1 on 3 lots. So we're down about 33%. Okay, so you're down about 33% on that position after taking out a big exit. Okay, and the flip side is that I actually believe it can trade 90. Okay, I believe it could trade 90, 95. I mean, the options are priced, for a significant move, because Pinterest could have a significant move. There's that much momentum built into the business right now if they actually succeed at what they're trying to do here. So the 70, let's call it this, it's stock trading 77.25. The 77.5s are $5. It's pricing in. Just look at that number. It's pricing in 90, right? You got to be thinking around $90 to be, that's the break evens here. On the flip side, it's saying $67. Okay, so you're talking about a decent sized move they're expecting in Pinterest. Now, it's also, if you look at the chart, it's also near a breakout. So the way I think about it is, if I took out a 1/3 at 100% and I'm still in the trade, I want to be in the trade. We bought a 4-week, 6-week option, really 4 weeks, because we're trying to get that earnings. So we bought a 4 or 5-week option to watch that earnings. Now, if you're nervous about it and you want to reduce the volatility of returns a little bit, it's okay to sell 1 out of 2. But I think that you want to be there to see the earnings. That's how you catch the 200-300% moves. If this trades 90 and we're into the 75s at around 4 and change, 450, wherever we're at, that's a 15. You're talking about 200+% move, and this has a lot of legs. See this move right here?
Yes.
Okay, from 74 to 62, that move. You know who that move is? Let's. I'm going to show you who that move might be and what caused that move, right? Because you got to look at what has happened. Okay, Melvin Capital. Sorry, let's just go back. Melvin Capital was the number 4 holder in Pinterest as of September. Okay, they owned 12 million shares and had 25,000 call options. Well, when you're blowing up, right, you don't get a chance to say to your prime broker, "Hey, I think Pinterest is going to 95. Can I just hold it?" I mean, just like, no, they force you to sell. Okay, so while GME was going up, right, his stocks, he was getting killed right here. These are the days he was getting killed. This is why the market went down. So it's likely that he had to actually sell his position. Okay, something that he loved. And remember, I mean, look, the guy got beat up pretty bad in this GMA. There's no doubt. Yep. But he was one of the best in the game for the last 4 years. I mean, the guy's very, very good. He's a legitimate shark, and he was he's number 4 holder in Pinterest. He might have got blown out, and now the market just ate him up, 62, 72, 74. It just literally started at 74, traded right back. I believe this thing has legs, and I think that it could actually do this mountain type of move towards 90. Whether it's tonight, tomorrow, if it goes to 60, you better believe, we're going to be back in and looking for calls to buy the next run. I think this is a stock that is good for the longer term. And we're just trying to play, potentially a buyer coming into this. I think if they trades 90, the problem with these names, trades 90, good earnings, they're going to, the fundamentals, people say it trades 20, 25 to 30 times sales, but they have never tried to really monetize the way they're starting to now. So sales is a small number because they don't care about sales. They cared about users and building their platform and making it a platform that's scalable to take on huge advertising dollars. And that's what now they're starting to do. So they've been doing that well. If they show that tonight, the market's going to reward them and it's going to say, they're killing earnings. Like, forget about sales, 25 to sales. Amazon traded, X times sales for 30 years. That didn't stop them from going from $10 to, 3,000. So these are things that, when you look at those numbers, you just got to be careful because, if someone's screaming 25 times sales, Pinterest never had to think about sales. The UOA for a couple of minutes.
Some UOA, yes, for sure.
Your time's up. Your time's up today. Okay, go ahead. I'll give you a couple minutes.
Give me a bonus. Come on, we're not doing it tomorrow. So.
All right.
Right.
Oh, that's right. We're on tomorrow after the day
You
off
want to take a look at Cisco?
Let's look at a couple. Let's just see. I did see some Cisco activity. So Cisco's one where same thing, like, and I don't know the ins and outs of these technology companies, and Cisco's like an old company, but when a stock beats earnings, right, it raises eyebrows across investors and saying, what are they doing differently? Is this the beginning of a longer term trend, right? And you can say in Cisco, if they beat earnings again in a way that that's material, you better believe people are going to start coming back. Like, what's going on with Cisco? So you have this, what would be the line that you see here? I see a couple, but what do you see? What's the line? You're looking at charts nowadays, so I'm going to try to hammer some chart stuff into you over the next couple of weeks. What do you see? Where's the line? Show me a level, right or wrong. What do you see?
46-ish. 45.
46-ish?
45?
Yeah. 45? 45? Why? Because of here?
Yeah, or even lower.
I would say, that's fair. I would say that's fair. That's one. I would have said, you could have said this one, or you could have said something, like here, right? And clearly this is a good line, right? The high. Okay. And then the other thing, so here, because it had trouble here, it rises through, jumps all the way up. Then it for whatever reason, this becomes, resistance in technicals, resistance becomes support. And then there's something going on around here. For whatever it is, maybe there's value investors are here. COVID comes in and does this. So it does this, let's call it 1, 2, a little funky 2 here because we're going to do 3. And now it's doing this. This is what I call this, these things. I'm always looking for these things, right? I call them V's, whether it's an upside down V or this is a V and then another V, which makes it a W, and a W with a higher low. So, these things are powerful. I always say you have to respect the V. You have to respect when something is doing this sharp move, right? It's got to be that sharp move. Whether and you can look at them in on a short-term basis, but the powerful ones are these a little bit longer-term V's, where what the market is trying to say, the way I describe it to people, is the market saying, nope, like you're wrong. You've made a mistake here. Okay, you made a mistake here and we're taking it right back. And then you try to bring it down again and the market says, I told you made a mistake and we're going to take it right back. Right? You see how that goes, right? There's buyers that are stepping in and saying, nah, 35 is no good. I'm going to buy as much as you got here, 35. You took it down to 31. I told you not to do that. You're taking it to 35. I told you I meant business around here, right? I mean business. I'm a buyer right here. I mean business. So you bring it down here again and I'm going to buy it again. Well, at some point the sellers are out, right? And then it's just this buyer who bought here, And that buyer, I'm talking about like a BlackRock. I'm talking about like a like the big guys, the guys that can take down millions of shares. And now the fight is literally right at 47.5. That's where the fight is. You see that level? For the last year and a half, this level at 47.5 is held. Okay. Seller. Remember, the seller's now saying, we got it here. We're selling here. Now now tell me what they're gonna do now. You see that? Okay, I want to make sure you see that first. Now you can go to I did see some calls in Cisco. So I think people are setting up for potential. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen some short term, but what interested me was the April ones.
The Aprils. Okay, so let's look at the Aprils. Okay, so you have earnings in 2 weeks. They're trading around the earnings. Okay, so February 19th, trading around there. And April, 49s. Yeah, I like it. Looks interesting.
Mhm.
I would bet. I don't think anybody's selling that. I would bet that the buyer. Okay, so it looks like a buyer here with vol click up. It's hard to move implied volatility in a thick name like Cisco. Just in general,
Right.
it's another story. I won't get into right now. But in this one, like Microsoft, Cisco, it's hard to move these, especially the old tech. But you look here, and just to verify, this is on the bid here. I'd like to see. It says on. I don't know who would sell that, but I'd be surprised here. 143, 30 minutes, 140, 138, 137. To be honest, now that I look at it, there's some spreads here. Could it be a sale? It actually could be a sale. I don't know who would want to sell that, to be honest. Could be a sale in April.
Okay.
Okay. It looked like a buy, just visualizing it, stock moving up. But this right here at 11:30, let me go by time now. I want to figure this out. Okay, so 11:29, 29, $1.44, 143, 138, 139, 137. To me, that looks like a sale. You see how they're hitting the bid, hit
Yeah.
the bid, hit the bid, hit the bid, hit the bid, and then trade 9,000. That's me, right? You come in to sell, you want to sell about 10,000. You say, where can I sell 10,000? We're having the conversation literally right here. And you say, I want to sell 10,000 and the market's 144. And I say, 10,000 is a lot. I'll bid you 137. And you say, fine, stop me with a price 137. I say, okay. So now I go into the market. I sell 144, 143. I sell 138, 139 in the machines, right? I'm hitting the bids. And then I sell 88.94, the balance at 137. I'll buy what I have to. Okay.
Okay. Makes sense.
So that's how that works. So I would say that was a sale. But I would say that I did see some over here that looked like they were lining up for the earnings. And it just makes sense that people are coming in to, potentially buy some upside. This is kind of what I saw here, the 50s. And you see how the implied volatility is up here. It looks like people are buying, calls here. Now, the question is, are they buying call? They're buying call earnings 50, but are they selling some stock? Are they selling stock in front of it? Let's get at this. It looks like Star Wars I did there. I did what I tell you not to do. Okay, so 50 is right here. 50 is right here. And yeah, you have 50 and you see here this gap, right? Not much. This is like, doesn't give anybody a chance. Gap. Okay.
Right.
Breaks 47 and a half. You could argue that on a good earnings, breaks 47 and a half. It could start making its move towards 53, 54, 55. So whatever happened here in the last earnings and remember, they have left Cisco for dead over the, they used to do Reuters. I don't even know what they do now. Secure. I have no idea, but they used to do Reuters. Nobody has Reuters in it. Routers, not Reuters, routers. And so they've changed. Maybe they've changed their whole game. Maybe it's systems, cloud, and security. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, if whatever they told, and we'd have to go read the transcript because the CEO is saying, hey, we got something new here at Cisco. We're proud of these earnings. This is what's going to happen in the future. We are now focused on this. And if that turns out to be good and we get another great quarter, then you could see this stock actually trade up a lot. And, someone might be positioning for that on the 50 calls because you can buy them. You can buy them at a level. If you think it can get to 52, 53, then on something like that, you're going to actually make, if somebody thinks 53, you could see that they will make on the 12s. You're talking about 500% returns,
Yeah.
They don't even need to make that much. You go to 52 on the 50s, they can make 300%. So, the question is, are they reducing some stock? And I would say that might be part of it, right? The stock has a big run, and so good risk. If you owned 5 million shares of Cisco, what might you do up here? You just might say, you know what? I'll take a little bit off. Stock's up 6%. Maybe I'll take a little bit off, and I'll buy some of these calls.
Mhm.
Okay.
Makes sense. Cool.
All right. So
Great.
keep that in mind. That said, though, if you are actually this big of a buyer where you're basically stepping up, I can tell you that these are more longer term thinking buyers. They may not be doing that. It may just be that they believe in the stock for the next 3 years and they're looking to get back to, you see this mojo, this was good, yay, and then all of a sudden something happened and they want to get back to 55. So, I think it looks good to me. It's positive, it looks good, and there's clearly a buyer. And in fact, you know what? Let's just go see. Let's just go see who's involved. BlackRock is one at the top. There's going to be some big names, but I want to go. Sorry, don't look. I want to go all the way to the bottom. And maybe there's a different way to do this, but look how many people are in it.
Whoa, there's a lot.
Sorry, sorry. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom so I can actually pull. Okay, so we got puts. Okay, I want to see holdings change. Cisco holdings change. Okay, so who's buying? Is there any? Can we spot anybody who's very big in the change here? 1 million shares M&G investment, and I would just go look and see, who's. You just go through here and you start seeing some of the names. And are they value investors? What type of investors are they? Are they long-term investors? I don't see anyone. You'd have to actually go through something. They don't have it in any particular order. They have it by percentage increase. But, if BlackRock is down there, so Victory Capital, almost 1 million shares. Sorry. I know there's a way. I'm not an expert at this. I'm sure somebody's going to find a better way to do this. But I would be looking for like BlackRock and seeing what BlackRock did, which is probably the easiest way. I could have just went back and clicked on BlackRock. That's 12 million. But to go through BlackRock's portfolio is like, you got to know exactly what. That's another thing. So I'm sure someone out there is going to be able to scrape this, put it on Excel, and then say, this is what. Hold on, I'm going to go all the way back to the top. See what I get here. Holder, BlackRock, Cisco. Let's see. Does it give me BlackRock's portfolio here? It should. I don't know if that's going to cause. There we go. BlackRock. See how long it takes to get BlackRock's portfolio? It's like huge. So you'd have to go in there and find Cisco and see what did BlackRock do, or what were they doing in the last couple of quarters? And let's see. There's a 12. I saw a 12 in there. Is it coming on? There's Cisco. Look at Cisco. Okay, so they added 3 million shares of Cisco in the quarter, which is only 1%. But, you had another quarter after that, December 31st, which should come out in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So it's 45 days after December 31st. So in 2 weeks, you will know more about, who's bought Cisco. Unfortunately, Cisco's earnings will be out by then. So you pop up and say, oh man, BlackRock had bought another 50 million shares or whatever. Well, that was your guy. But this is the type of stuff you're looking at. It's all part of the story. So
cool. Nice.
Cool. Why don't we stop there and just say, look, there are a couple of names like that I saw was JetBlue. I'd be careful with JetBlue. It looks like it is someone selling stock to buy calls. But JetBlue, we looked at Sunrun. And you mentioned this to me this morning in a note. What was it? The skills game.
Skills game.
So keep in mind, that's one to look at. So those three are the ones that you can look at, do yourself, try to figure it out. I think the JetBlue was, it says spread. I couldn't find the other leg, so that would tell me it was buying calls, selling stock. The Sunrun, we're just seeing some stuff there, and skills, seeing some calls. That one's interesting. Both Sunrun and skills, the stocks are so way up in the air. I don't want to reach. I don't like reaching. Patience pays.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
All right. Be good. Right.
Thank you, Felix. Be good. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Make sure you like that button before the weekend.
Yeah, please. Definitely. And subscribe if you're not. All right.
And subscribe if you're not. Goodbye.
Bye.